It's your boy Zay-P, Zay-P the I am. I am that I am, as you are that you are, for we are all that we are. From the individual to the many, from the many comes the all, and the all is one. So your boy's back at it, back with a brand new video. Today I just wanted to hop on and drop a quick video about this topic that Spirit has been dropping on my heart. So I figured I'd come in and share it. And it is this new concept that's new to me, but this realization that I'm finding pretty valuable, and I think will be pretty valuable for you. And it is the idea of authentic emotions versus artificial feelings. Now stay with me, y'all. This might get a little bit weird, but I'm going to try to lay this out as simple as possible so that you can see how this plays out in your own body, and so that you can know how to work through these moments as they arise. So, Spirit's been talking to me about the ways in which we feel. The ways in which we feel as our physical vessels and as these spiritual beings that we are. Now, if I was to break it down, you can consider the human person as having 4 bodies. Well, maybe 5 bodies if you count the spiritual body. But you think of, I think of the spiritual body as a bit of the spark that ignites, or is the ignition, the catalyst for the other 4 bodies. Now the other 4 bodies are the physical body, your mental body, thoughts, this is where the thought realm occurs, your emotional body, this is the feelings, this is how that energy works, and your energetic body. There's a definitive energetic component to your vessel. These vessels are multi-dimensional technology. Understand that when I say this is some of the most advanced technologies available to us, and we're just now getting to the point of trying to emulate that with robotics in these new scientific fields, cloning, things of that nature. And still we've yet to been able to pierce the true intricacies of this multi-dimensional technology that we wear every day. It is important for us to start to recognize true emotion versus artificial feelings. And we do have true emotions from the perspective that emotion is but energy, E, in motion. Emotion. This is what emotion is. It is just energy in motion. As energy courses through our being and moves through our body, it will create sensations. It will have effects on us. Now let's make that distinction. What's an artificial feeling? If authentic emotions are emotions that are generated in the emotional electrical body, the energetic body, so to speak, and energy courses through the energetic body and it's moving through the vessel, it creates the sensation of emotions. However, we also experience feelings. Now, I'm only labeling them this for the sake of the concept, right? Point being, the authentic emotions are the emotions that are generated as energy courses through our vessel, creating that emotional energy, stirring up the pot for things to be felt and seen and released and experienced. This is what true authentic emotional energy does. However, back to the artificial feelings, those come from somewhere else. And the place they come from is the mental realm. The way Spirit has been breaking this down to me is that our thoughts can create a similar experience to what we already consider to be emotion. This similar experience you could call feelings. But the feelings come in responses to thoughts. And this is the biggest differentiating factor. Because if you recognize the difference, if feelings are generated in response to thoughts, emotions are just pure energy in motion through our vessel, then controlling our feelings is a lot more possible than what many of us may actually realize. So, with the idea of feelings being generated by our thoughts, being generated in the mind, in the mental realm, this occurs as we think things right? And then we have a reaction to them, right? The thoughts start triggering an emotional reaction, right? And an energetic investment. Neuroscience is all about the study of brain, the neural pathways in the brain. Our brain interprets everything in our reality, right? Nothing in our reality is truly what we see. What we think we see is really just impulses that are being translated by our brain. How's that happening? Electrical impulses that are flowing through the neural pathways. This is how the brain actually interprets and communicates with the various parts of the brain within the mind. This is the mind in action. It is electrical impulses flowing back and forth through the neural pathways. Electrical impulse. That right there, self-explanatory. Energy. So, as you think, thoughts create energy already in the brain. The thought realm is very energetic. If you look at the 7 Hermetic principles, one of the things they say, one of the laws of the universe is all is mind. But if you understand that all is mind, you can also understand that mind is energetic. Because if all is mind, and mind is but electrical impulses that are constantly being interpreted, and ultimately that's what the mind is within the organ that is the brain, then there is already energy embedded into thoughts. There's energy in the mind. And as that energy moves throughout the mind, it generates response. You're going to notice that with authentic emotion comes less thought. There's less conceptualization needed. There's simply identification. There's simply presence with whatever is occurring and the experience. Presence, experience. This is the most authentic of any kind of movement within our reality. It's just an experience through the present moment, right? And so this is how the energy of the body, when it's authentic, moves. It is just energy moving through the body, and you're going to be experiencing, right? You're going to be experiencing that energy movement, that emotion. That emotion, however it's moving, is going to cause whatever the reaction is. It's going to cause laughter. It's going to cause crying. It's going to cause whatever the emotional energy causes, right? But it'll come without thought. It'll come without any process. It'll come in a more just authentic, almost subconscious realm, because it is not being generated. It's not being forced. It is not something that had to be milked. It just naturally occurred through the movement of energy in the body. Versus artificial feelings, which have to be spurred along, which have to be something thought about, something dwelled upon. These things creating more energy, more momentum in those directions, which add more of the symptoms, which will add more of the experience. But it's more of a multi-layered process to get to anything because it's artificial, right? And this is one of the things, like with AI, where it's never going to be as harmonious or symmetrical as the true authentic experience of life. That said, you look at the headache example again. A headache arises in an authentic emotional state. Headache arises, automatically one would feel tension in the head. One would not describe it. One would not jump to explanations behind it. One would just experience tension in the head. Through that tension, one might be impulsively reacting to just start relieving the tension in the head, right? So all of a sudden, headache arises. No thought about the headache, tension in head. This is what it feels like. So maybe one starts to rub the temples. Maybe you start to open jaws, massage the earlobes, all of these little things to kind of relieve tension, because that was just an authentic emotional release that needed to take place. You was just informed by being present of what needed to be done to resolve the issue. Now, had this headache occur from an artificial place? What is the process? All right, so tension in the head. What happens? Thought comes up. Oh, I have a headache. As soon as you make that judgment, you move from the authentic emotional state to the mental realm. You've moved into the artificial. And not to say the mental realm is the artificial, but the artificial is going to be generated out of this space. So once you judge it, oh, headache is bad. I have to start taking action to get rid of this headache. As these thoughts occur in the mind, they are generating more energy, generating more sensations. Perhaps as you're thinking about it, damn, this headache is still with me. I gotta go. I gotta get some Tylenol. I need to do some head massages. I gotta do something to relieve this headache. As you think about it, perhaps you even label it, it's stress, right? The more you dwell upon these things, the more the headache seems to grow and grow and grow. Okay, I need to go get something for the headache. I don't have time. Maybe I'm working, so now I'm stressed. I got to take the time out to go and relieve my headache, or do I stay focused? Okay, maybe that adds stress. Maybe in your head, you're like, what's this headache about? Okay, it's the stress. So now you're thinking about the stresses of your day or the stresses of your life. Oh, I can't get this project done. I'm stressed out over that. Oh, the wife and kids are bothering me. I'm stressed out over that. Oh, this is going on. I'm stressed out over that. So now the headache is building. You've already been in the thought realm. You're thinking about these things. Where's this headache coming from? It's coming from the stress. You start to dwell on the stress. It adds to the headache. Right? You see what's happening here. You start to dwell on that. It adds to the headache. Now I have to go and do something maybe more extreme to relieve the headache, right? And so what happens is, instead of an instantaneous present moment awareness, tension, start to relieve the tension, and boom, no judgment of the headache. It passes. Just like that. It comes, it goes, you're good to move on with your day. Once it leads into the artificial, it leads into feelings, it leads into the thought realm, that you start to generate more and more thoughts that tend to generate more and more feelings about those thoughts, right? Because as we think, then we sow, right? We sow the results of that thinking. And a lot of time that is emotional energy. There is emotional investments made with all of our thoughts as we think these things. And so what tends to happen is that as we think, we may compound the energy, we may build it up. Next thing you know, you have a bigger headache than ever it was. Perhaps the headache has lasted longer than it would have needed to had you just been present and was able to release it when it was simply an energetic stimuli, right? But once it's entered into that mental realm and the thoughts started compounding and you started generating feelings about it, judging the headache, maybe adding to the headache by dwelling on the stress, all of these different things, it's become a much bigger scenario that's being spurred on by the momentum of the thought. And this is why this becomes an artificial experience. And so with that, you can see how there is the authentic emotional experience of things, and then there's the artificial feelings of things. But what does that mean in the grand scheme, practical approach to life? Well, what that means is that we do have a level of control when it comes to a lot of the stuff we're feeling. A lot of the things that we do feel in our most authentic state can come and can go without restraint, without restriction, without struggle. A lot of things will come up, and if we're present with it, we can accept, we can allow the experience to pass over us and wash away. If we are dwelling on something, if we start to think about it, once we start to judge it, put it in a place of this is good, this is bad, this is preferred, this is not, polarize it. Put it in the scope of duality. Preferences that say this is acceptable, this is not acceptable. I do like this, I do not like this. It becomes a much more prolonged experience than it needs to be. Why? Because in the mental realm, as you dwell on things, you generate additional emotional energy around it. You begin to develop unnecessary feelings. Not to say the feelings are bad, good or bad, either way, but a lot of times the feelings may be unnecessary to the experience. A lot of times the experiences that we are meant to go through in life are meant to be just that, an experience for us to go through, for us to grow through. But a lot of times we make some of these experiences much more difficult because we tend to add artificial feelings into it. We tend to invest all this additional unnecessary mental momentum, right? And so if you're not mindful, you can get caught up in that trap of making everything in your life so much worse by adding all of these artificial layers of feeling to it instead of staying in that purer place of just the emotional energy. So that's a lighthearted example of the difference between authentic emotions and artificial feelings. When you're going throughout your day and you're being mindful and things trigger you and things come up, take a moment. Ask yourself, is this just energy, emotion? Is this something that can just pass through me? Is this something that I can accept, let flow, and let move on? Or is this something that I've been building in my own mind, that I am stressing out, that I am dwelling on, that I'm putting all this mental energy into, and in effect making this situation, making the experience much more larger than it needs to be? As always, like, follow, subscribe, because we're building this community and we appreciate all like minds, hearts, and souls on this journey. It's your boy Zay-P. I'm out.